Welcome back to Breakfast. Many of the best financial minds in the world missed the signs the financial crisis was looming. My next guest wasn't one of them, but he warns those who failed to foresee it last time will miss the next one too. Visiting Australian economics and finance Professor Steve Keen is with me now. Good morning to you, Professor.
Good morning.
What was it back in 2005 that prompted you to foresee that we were going to experience this period of crisis?
Was simply the level and the rate of growth of private debt compared to GDP, compared to income. And I was actually writing a law case where I made a throwaway comment about the level of debt rising exponentially compared to incomes, thought it was a throwaway line, checked the data, realised, my God, I'm right, it is. There has to be a crisis, somebody has to warn about it. At least in Australia, I was that somebody.
We've learnt something, haven't we? I'd like to think we have.
No.
Are they going to miss it again?
If we're in the aftermath of something which could take 20 years to unwind, just like it has in Japan. But if it happened again, they wouldn't see it coming because conventional economists refuse to believe that the level of private debt has any impact on the macroeconomy. They think debt's just, I lend you money, I can spend less, you can spend more, therefore you can ignore the level of debt and you can ignore the rate of change. And I come from a different tradition that says it's fundamentally important. The level of debt and the rate of change of that debt is what actually finances spending. And if you don't take that into account, then you'll have this tsunami coming your way and you'll basically predict, 1 metre waves and a nice swell. You won't see it coming at all.
So is that to say that not only we won't see it coming, but another one will definitely come?
Well, we're in the aftermath of one. We've actually had, in effect, had a tsunami, but unlike an earthquake where as soon as the tension's released, it's all gone away. This is like, in effect, like global warming. We've got an enormous amount of carbon dioxide that's built up. We've ignored it all the way through, said it doesn't matter. It then causes a crisis. We now stop doing it, but it takes decades for that level to fall down. Same thing with the level of debt. When you accumulate too much debt, you can't get rid of it like that, and therefore you're in the process of where you should have rising debt adding to demand, you've got its falling debt subtracting from demand, and it can go on for 20 years.
Well, on that note, then, I want to talk to you about the banks, because in New Zealand, which of course most of them are owned by the Australian banks, they're aggressively trying to get mortgage business and grow their lending books. So are they repeating the same mistakes? Yes,
they're making the same mistake. And in fact, they've put New Zealanders are in more mortgage debt than Americans or Australians are. And the whole cause of rising house prices is is accelerating levels of mortgage debt. And you've got that right now. So I expect your house prices are going to rise in the next 6 months to a year. But they'll rise because of accelerating levels of debt, not because it's a good idea to buy a house.
But obviously in New Zealand, private debt is our issue. So are we just lining ourselves up for more economic strife when we've barely come out of the last round?
Oh, yeah. You shouldn't use debt to finance gambling on asset prices. You should use debt to finance industrialisation, development, research and technology. But the banks make profit by creating debt, and they'll find ways to persuade us to get into debt. We'll think we're geniuses selling second-hand houses to each other, getting rich that way, but a country can't get rich that way. Ultimately, you have a crisis.
I guess what everyone tells us when we report the banks now back to record profits is that we need a healthy banking system. Is that not fair?
There's a level at which the banking sector is healthy because it provides like oil inside an engine, but there's a level where it becomes basically a cancer. Imagine if you put 60 gallons of oil into your engine rather than putting petrol into the tank, your engine wouldn't be able to turn over. Well, that ultimately is what happens when you have too much debt. So there's a level beyond which the finance sector is too big, and it's certainly been too big in the West for about the last 2 or 3 decades.
Obviously, the Eurozone trying to grapple with getting rid of debt and austerity causes those economies to shrink. Are they going about it the right way?
Well, no, the most recent decision is a good one because the private sector's borrowing is very different from the government sector borrowing. And because the reason they've had such a bad... I mean, they've got unemployment of 25% in quite a few of the countries over there. The reason it's so bad is the government isn't able to act like to reverse the impact of the bad decisions in the private sector. In fact, it's amplifying those by cutting spending. So that decision by Draghi to say they'll buy the bonds will probably reduce interest rates dramatically and make the area healthier, but they've still got problems.
A long way to go. Thank you very much, Steve Keen. Professor Steve Keen from the Western Sydney University. And if you're interested in hearing a little bit more, Professor Keen is going to be giving a free public lecture at the Auckland University Business School tonight and then at the University of Canterbury tomorrow night.